Hello and welcome to Highlights, a show where I recap something like it's sports, even though it's not. This season, we are, of course, covering All Stars 6, and we are going to briefly recap and look at reactions from episode 9, drag race related news from the past week, and stats going into episode 10. This week, I have another very special guest. This is my friend Cherise, who also attends my weekly Zoom parties. I'm so excited to have her here. You ready for this?
I am ready for this.
Awesome. Thank you for doing this with me.
I'm so excited right now.
Fantastic. Let's get into it. Previously on All Stars 6. So last week's episode was Drag Tots, where the entire purpose was to promote the show and get people to jump on Wow Presents Plus and watch the show. But the queens were tasked with coming up with their own live action character based on the animated series Drag Tots. What did you think of this challenge?
I thought it was a cute challenge. I have noticed that there is usually a family-friendly version of a challenge at some point during the season. And I appreciate it very much. I love Sesame Street. I still watch Sesame Street sometimes, so I appreciate all the family-friendly aspects of RuPaul. I thought it was great.
I liked it too. I liked the concept. I think what we ended up getting on the runway was a little weird. And I'm going to get into that right now. So they presented their live action characters on the runway with special guest appearances by Bianca Del Rio and Latrice Royale's Drag Tots characters. That being said, I felt the presentations of the characters were extremely long, like awkwardly so. Like too much time was spent on the characters. You know, I liked some of them. I think they would have been great cartoon characters. I don't know. I just wish they had presented them somehow differently, but that's just me. That being said, Raja O'Hara took the place of top all-star of the week. And this meant that if you were not the top all-star, you were up for elimination. So everybody else was completely up for elimination. Cameron Michaels was this week's lip sync assassin. She's been anticipated to be one for a very long time based on her lip sync track record. And fans have been urging for her to be booked as one. So it's exciting to see her finally show up here. She and Raja battled it out, and Cameron actually won the lip sync, which is awesome and expected, revealing that the group chose to send Eureka home. You agree?
I do agree. And when I was watching the pit stop, Kasha was speaking about how she thought that Raja might have been not trying as much as she could have so that Cameron Michaels would give the news instead of herself. And I had not thought about that as an option, and that is an incredibly smart way to play the game, because ultimately this is a game.
Yes, I agree. And we actually have seen this happen before, and it's an interesting tactic. That's why they kind of force them now to also reveal their vote anyway to the group. So, you know, depending on who they chose, sometimes that still stirs the pot a little bit. And also why now the cash tips are there and have increased and have the opportunity to roll over. So it adds motivation for them to, even though they have to put themselves in this really hard situation, they're more motivated to do it and just play the game.
I'm not saying that the lip sync was bad. There have been a few amazing lip syncs this season.
I agree. I actually expected more from Cameron, actually, because she's very acrobatic and all of these things. And I don't think we actually got a lot of that from her in this performance. Maybe she just felt as they were battling she didn't need to, but I kind of expected more from this lip sync.
I loved her outfit though.
Same.
Oh my goodness, perfect.
Absolutely. Okay, so as Eureka is exiting the building, she is stopped once again by the game within a game. However, hers goes a bit differently, and she does not end up actually packing up and leaving like the other eliminated queens, but instead the game within a game has been revealed to now be a lip sync battle of some sort, and we see Eureka rushing off to the stage. Also interesting, we'll talk about game within a game further later, but I want to say it's interesting to note that Eureka did not have a What You Packin' episode like the other eliminated queens did.
Interesting.
All right, it's time for top tweets. We only have a couple quick little news stories for this week, so let's just jump into them. As expected, because of the challenge we just got and the whole purpose of getting everybody to watch the show, season 2 of Drag Tots was officially announced with a brand new trailer for the season. None of the All-Stars creations are being used for the show, but they did add a new character to Drag Tots, and it will be voiced by Jimbo from Canada's Drag Race.
That is exciting. I love Jimbo.
I'm obsessed with Jimbo. I want Jimbo to have the world. Jimbo deserves everything. I'm so excited. If anything is going to get me to watch the show, it's going to be Jimbo. And part of me thinks Wow Presents knows that.
Oh no, I'm already on board because of Bianca Del Rio. Like, been there, clowned that, here for it.
And who better to cast for a cartoon show than what is basically a giant walking cartoon like Jimbo? Fantastic. Michelle Visage hinted that we may be getting some new music from her in the form of a new solo album, her first in decades, and she talked to Variety about her plans to not only get back into music, but also acting plans and how the pandemic and her age has now caused her to realize that she has nothing to wait for, and she is her own worst enemy, and she is only stopping herself.
Oh my gosh, that is so exciting.
I'm pretty excited, and I think too it helps because she just did a single with Steps, which I know we've all heard and been aware of it. It went really well for her. It was pretty well received, and also had a lot of people urging her to get back into music as well, which is, I think, what spurred this conversation. So really excited for her. I think she deserves to be able to do whatever she...
For sure. And if she needs to remind herself that she loves herself and that she's worthy to follow her dreams and chase this down, then by all means, do it.
We are winding down to the end of the season. Let's get into the scoreboard. As always, these are the queens we started with, and here's who we have left. So last week, Eureka officially sashayed her way into 5th place. This week, we will maybe find out who takes 4th place. I'm actually expecting the numbers not to change though, because of Game Within a Game. I think someone may still leave, but I think someone will come back. So I bet this will ultimately stay pretty much the same. Who do you think is going to return from Game Within a Game?
I would love to see Akira come back. I feel as if Pandora's spirit is a little dampened. I don't know. I love Pandora. Oh my goodness, I've loved her since her first season. But I don't know if she has the confidence within herself to walk through this door right now if presented with lip sync, the possibility of coming back.
So interesting to note that out of the queens who've been up for elimination, because the bulk of the group was up for elimination last week, we have some interesting numbers now. So Trinity K. Bonet has now actually been up for elimination 3 times. Ginger Minj and Kylie have been up twice. Raja O'Hara only 1 time still because she won last week. So she was the only one who escaped being in the bottom and up for elimination. So interesting numbers to play with as we also go into game within a game in terms of maybe swapping the queen out, things like that. I don't think things look good for Trinity, personally.
I would totally have to agree. I really appreciated that every single queen who did not win was up for elimination. It was time for that.
Out of challenge wins, Ginger Minj remains the front runner for the crown. Raja O'Hara now second place in terms of front running, losing her legacy lip sync last week though, so she still only has one legacy lip sync under her belt. Trinity K. Bonet in third place, and Kylie Sonique Love now in fourth because she only has one challenge win under her belt still. Though interesting to note that Ginger and Kylie won the mini challenge, and that came with a $1,000 win each. So now Kylie's winnings are up to $11,000 and Ginger Minj's winnings are up to $61,000. Who do you think is going to get the crown?
At this point, I am absolutely cheerleading Kylie and Raja.
Nice.
I feel as if they have enough inner confidence to maintain the pressure of being an even bigger superstar than they already are. And I feel as if the messages that they have to bring forward are worthy of doing that under RuPaul's legacy.
Oh, for sure. I think for me, even though Raja won last week, I think my answer still remains the same. I feel Kylie deserves it for how much she's put into it and how hard and how well she's doing with the work she's putting into it. Where I think Raja, even though she won last week, sometimes like I think in Snatch Game, she kind of phones it in with some things, and she kind of just coasts by, and I have a problem with that. I don't think things look good for Trinity, but realistically, I think things look really good for Ginger.
I would absolutely have to agree, and Ginger is very strong.
This week's episode, we don't know what it is because it's going to be centered around the game within a game. There isn't a title or a challenge specified for this episode. It is full question marks as we get down to the eliminated queens now returning and finding out who's going to return to the competition.
It's going to be the Eliminated Olympics if they are devoting an entire episode to this. I am so excited.
I hope so. I just want to see them destroy each other and just 45 or like an hour long worth of lip syncs. And I hope it's the entire episode. Like I hope there's no mini challenge. I hope that he just says, hey, they're back. This is what's happening. Everybody get out there and we just do it the entire time. That's what I'm hoping for.
I'd have to agree, but like I said, I want them to be on the stage two at a time so that it's not too crowded. It needs to be spaced out. Winner advances in a bracket of elimination.
Absolutely. Completely agree. So we'll see how it goes. Thank you so much for being on with me this week. I'm so excited to do this with you, and my heart is so full right now. Thank you for being on.
Of course, you're welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me. It has been fantastic to be here.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And to everybody watching, thank you so much for going over the highlights with me, and I'll see you next week.